Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time to review The Lost Daughter. This is the directorial debut of Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it's an adaptation of a novel of the same name. It stars Olivia Colman, Dakota Johnson, and Jessie Buckley. The movie's about a woman who goes on vacation, and she encounters a mother and a daughter who bring back memories of her relationship with her children. The movie's a lot about her reckoning with her past. It's told partly in flashbacks. Jessie Buckley plays the younger version of this character.
This was surprisingly one of my favorites that I've seen at New York Film Festival. And before I say anything, I would actually really like to rewatch this film already. I probably don't grasp every single thing in it, though I thought it was very clear what the core of this film was. I'm excited for people to experience this character themselves because they're not told what to think or feel about her. I think this is a really important character in that it explores many of the taboo desires that women in particular may have with regards to motherhood. We rarely see these expressed, and so I love that this film is bringing that to the surface. One thing I love about movies is that we can watch anybody do anything and we don't necessarily have to judge them, because you can put the audience on somebody's side simply by telling a story from their perspective.
The most compelling part of the film for me is that this character becomes more and more relatable the more unlikable they become. It seems like an obvious problem that parents who have to tend to their children constantly don't get to focus much on themselves or self-actualize, and yet we don't really hear much about like the downsides of parenting or the toll that it can take on somebody. And this movie tackles that with brutal honesty. In a lot of ways, this is an actor's movie. Gyllenhaal's approach to shooting this is to use a lot of close-ups. Even the aspect ratio like fits the faces in and the heads in real nice in there, so you get just the face taking up the entire screen.
I love the way that Maggie Gyllenhaal uses close-ups in this film. When it was in close-up with one of these three characters, it was at its strongest. And something about the way that she framed their faces made her voice come through. You're sort of watching all of these micro expressions, these women sort of repressing their sadness. All three of the female lead performances here are some of the best of the year, easily. I've never seen Dakota Johnson better. Dakota Johnson gets a lot of those really tight close-ups where she's being very subtle but expressive. Jessie Buckley brings a lot of like pain and anger and frustration into her role.
And her performance would like surprise me with the way that something like came out all of a sudden.
Olivia Colman continues to deliver at the peak of her game.
I don't think she has a not peak game.
What's so impressive about her is that everything she does feels natural, even when she's deeply contemplating these decisions she's made in her past. We can see it all on her face and it doesn't feel as though she's acting. There's especially one scene when she sort of admits out loud like what she has done, and everything that comes over her face in that close-up is just some of the best acting, period. I felt this way about her in The Father as well. Like you can just see everything on her face all the time, and she's just like fascinating to watch. She's easily one of our best. There's no denying that after you see this film. It's a much more subtle performance than that of The Favorite, and it's also a really memorable character, and she does not make it obvious like what is going on with her. So you're constantly figuring out what are the cards that this character is holding close to their chest. They don't want other people to see.
She is very subtle in this movie, but it kind of reminded me of like how Frances McDormand, even when she's subtle, is still very, very expressive. She just has a very expressive face. We do get a couple moments where she's like really funny. Like I just like how Olivia Colman is able to give an interesting comedic spin to certain moments.
Yeah, I love how she's also likable and charming.
That's the thing though. The casting of Olivia Colman, who's like one of the most likable people, kind of goes against this character the more that we find out about them. And that became a really interesting thing to see Olivia Colman play with, especially as you get deeper and deeper into the story. It didn't feel like an Olivia Colman performance that I had seen before. And there's a sort of mystery element of the film where she does something that's very odd and you don't know why she did it the whole movie. And I was very thankful that the movie did not feel the need to explain this moment, but it equips you with the ability to kind of put that together for yourself.
I really loved how much this film was show, not tell. It allowed us to experience the character in a very natural way and see their layers unfold. And it did leave me with a lot of symbols that were unexplained as well, which I actually want to go back to the film to try to understand at a more deep level. And I do feel pretty confident that on subsequent viewings, this film could be even better. Bottom line is that these are three of the year's best performances easily. and Maggie Gyllenhaal has really put herself on the map as somebody to look out for. And I'm interested what themes she'll continue to explore in her work down the road, because this film does explore themes that you do not see from other filmmakers.
I do think there were some supporting characters that didn't really seem to have that much of a payoff, like with Ed Harris or Paul Mescal. They had some scenes that I liked in the moment and I understood what they were there for, but those characters didn't really feel like they got a conclusive moment that sort of wrapped them up in a way that it seemed like it was going to. Whereas Dakota Johnson's character, for example, got a really great moment in the end to kind of conclude that character's place in the story. I definitely am curious to revisit the film on Netflix later and see if the end hits me differently, but I didn't think the end was like the most impactful thing, although it's not like I have a suggestion for how to end it. It's a little bit of a perplexing movie, so I do expect that it's not going to be easy for people to be blown away by it, but it is still a really thought-provoking movie. It grapples with some pretty emotionally complex feelings, and I think a lot of people are going to be able to see themselves in this film in a way that for some is going to be really special.
I would give this film a strong 8 out of 10, and I might expect it to go up on subsequent viewings.
Going with an 8 on this one, too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Where is your daughter?